Picturesque Watkins Glen International is the site of round 10 of the Pirelli GT4 America season. This 3.37-mile, 11-turn road course provides a unique mix of challenge and opportunity for the 32 GT4 cars that are about to be turned loose here in upstate New York for a 60-minute sprint to the checkered flag. Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Marine. I've got Calvin Fish alongside me in the broadcast booth, Kyle Heyer down on the pit lane. Formation laps underway here at Watkins Glen. Calvin, wild race yesterday. We expect more of the same today.
Yeah, perfect weather conditions. Very cool here this morning at Watkins Glen. Just in the low 60s right now. Track's in perfect shape, and we've got a fierce battle on our hands here today between all of the subclasses within this Sprint X format. It always puts on a show. I don't expect any different here this morning.
Storylines upon storylines, and we'll get to them. But first, let's take a high-speed tour of Watkins Glen with Jan Halen in our Porsche track preview.
Hi, my name is Jan Halen. Welcome to the Porsche track preview here at Watkins Glen. Coming onto the front straightaway, crossing start-finish, getting ready to brake downhill into turn 1, deep on the brakes, hitting that apex, and then watch for track limits here on the exit of turn 1. Getting ready to turn into the famous S's here at Watkins Glen. A really fun part of the track in this Porsche GT3R. Going up the hill, no lift here, onto the back straightaway, and then getting ready to brake into the bus stop. Deep on the brakes here, close to the 150 signboard, and then hard over the curbs here into the bus stop, and then back to power into the carousel. Carousel, one of the faster corners on the track. Hard in, small tap on the brake, and then quickly back to power. So much downforce here from the car, really fun. Deep on the brakes here into turn 6, lots of camber here from the track. Back to power, using up all that exit, and then same for turn 7. Lots of camber here from the track, so you can really drive it in deep, and then accelerating up the hill, ready to get onto this little back stretch into turn 8. Turn 8, one of the best places to overtake if you're in a hot battle. Braking down the hill again, apexing the corner, and then watch for track limits here on the exit, and then braking up the hill for turn 9. Turn 9 being the slowest corner on the track, and you'll see not much room for error here on the exit, right next to that wall, and then into turn 10, which is the fastest corner on the track, over 100 miles an hour, using all that exit curb, pushing the car back over to the left, ready for turn 11, last corner, small tap on the brake, and then exiting right next to that wall onto the front straightaway, and that was a lap at Watkins Glen.
GT3 car, GT4 car, it doesn't matter. This place is a roller coaster ride. No matter what you are piloting around Watkins Glen, and this GT4 field about to put on a show for us here today. First of 2 formation laps complete, which gives us a chance to chew on a couple of the storylines from yesterday. And Calvin, one of them certainly is the late news of a change to the result from race 1 overnight. Toby Grahovic and Stephen McAleer had finished second on the road overall, first in the silver category, but a technical infraction not only moved them to the back of all classified cars yesterday, but has them starting at the back of the field today.
Yeah, and that's a big hit today to take, because they've had a really fast car here this weekend. But, you know, it's just one of those deals. Rules are rules, and one guy's also got a lot of work to do here is Bill Oberlin. His teammate James Walker Jr. had an incident in the first qualifying session, and the rebound effect of that was that Bill didn't even set a time, didn't get out during that session. So cut his way through the field yesterday. They were deep in the pack, obviously, from the incident, and James starting well deep in the field. But I don't think even Oberlin can perform magic with the strength of this field to get to the front here today.
Good news for Stephen Cameron Racing. Their BMW, qualified second overall by Greg Leafouge, is good to go to start from the outside of the front row in this race. That car was utilized earlier today in the GT America powered by AWS race, and Sean Quinlan, the car's other driver here in this race format, had some contact, sustained some damage. They only had a little over an hour to enact repairs, and there's the car right there. Good to go, and that's big for one of the championship contenders.
Yeah, it looked like mainly bodywork damage, but you never know. Did they have enough time to put it back up on the setup pad and make sure the alignment is correct? So I'm sure right now Greg Leafouge is kind of feeling this car out on this reconnaissance lap here. Spencer Pumpelly, a brilliant lap in qualifying yesterday to put that TRG LaSalle Solutions Porsche on the pole. Looking for big things today for he and Derek DeBoer.
And again, he'll have that Greg Leafouche-driven BMW starting alongside. They were part of the conversation yesterday because their championship rivals, the NOLA Sport tandem of Matt Travis and Jason Hart, did not take part in the race yesterday. That's because Matt Travis was officiating his sister's wedding, but he made sure he got back here in time for the race today. Practiced earlier in the weekend, left yesterday, arrived somewhere around 4 a.m. this morning, and he and Jason Hart will start in 11th. The championship lead diminished because they didn't take part yesterday, but it could have been a whole lot worse because the Cameron car wasn't quite as strong as we might have expected.
Yeah, that 63-point lead could have taken a big hit, but they only lost 8 points with the positioning of the Stephen Cameron Racing BMW. But today they got a lot of work to do. 11th overall, 8th in class, and Leafouche starting from the front row.
Those are just some of the manifold storylines up and down this grid of 32 GT4 cars. Pro-Am, Silver, and Am classes all up for grabs. Great field in perfect alignment. Spencer Pumpelly will take them to the green flag in the TRG Porsche. Greg Leafouche alongside in the orange and blue BMW. Then it's Elliott Skier and Aaron Povolato in the second row. Green flag flies, and they fan out 3 wide, about 3 rows deep in this field.
Yeah, I think it may be John Miller. They're looking for a way around the outside here. They're 3-4 wide there as they try to get down towards the apex. This is going to be really tight. You do have that runoff room there on the exit. Everyone gets through right now. That was tight, though.
It sure was, but that's a case of the drivers listening to the driver's briefing, where getting through turn 1 was certainly stressed earlier in the weekend. Side by side for second, Elliott Skier giving that Premier Racing Cayman a great run. He grabs second. Leafouche has dropped back substantially. And here comes a move from Owen Trinkler, Aaron Povolato, Kenton Cook. Here come the Aston Martin brigade.
Leafouche is going backwards in a hurry. I wonder if that car is 100% healthy. Aston Martin's looking really strong there. Big battle. Kenton Cook trying to make some moves.
Now, they looked really good yesterday, too. Did the Aston side by side here. Cook to the outside. It's Povolato to the inside for that brand new team that has been so impressive. Didn't get to hang on to the exact finishing position they had yesterday. We could talk about that more later because the battle is well and truly on. They've been side by side for 3 corners.
Cook versus Povolato as they come out of turn 7 and head towards the heel of the boot. Big battles throughout this field. There's the 47 machine. Looks like Jason Hart's now had not the best opening lap here.
Here comes Christian Shimshak to the inside of Ian James. Murillo Racing Mercedes versus Hart of Racing Aston Martin. And here comes Hart now.
Big day for Ian James yesterday. He and Gray Newell finishing second in class. First podium run for that duo here in Sprint X. Oh, there's a touch there. Is that Dyer?
I think so, in the Carbon Audi just behind Toby Grahovic, who's driving that car that had to start at the back. We told that story just a few moments ago. Are able to gain a number of spots here early on. Looks like Trent Hidman forced to go defensive in the RS1 Porsche.
Look at Oberlin, back of this field here, trying to make some moves, but there's no easy pickings. It is a really strong field with all of the pros starting here today.
And surprising to see Trent Hidman that far back, but this is a new program. He and Charlie Belluardo jumping in here this weekend. They've got Belhaven sponsorship on that car. And wanted to give a shout out to Matt Dalton, who started the year with this team. Of course, the Belhaven part of his package. And Matt injured in a crash earlier this year. We know you're watching. Wish you a speedy recovery. And all indications are Matt would like to be back in a race car ASAP. But for now, Trent Hidman and Charlie Belluardo in Porsche machinery representing the RS1 team.
Look at this battle. Think about some of the names we're talking about. So much talent out there. Tom Dyer, Trent Hidman, Toby Grahovic. Great battles.
Just can't take your eyes off of it. Everywhere you look, there's somebody fighting for position. 3 different classes all mixed up together as well. Ooh, light move there from Hart, able to get to the inside of, I believe that's Cole Corallo, who's starting the CCR Team TFB car here today. Hart able to make some progress here after dropping back on the initial start to this race. Conquest Racing made its season debut in the last race weekend at Watkins Glen. Colin Mullen got the call up once again this weekend, paired with Mackay Stevens. He's in that silver Mercedes in the middle of this battle pack.
Yeah, great battle here with John Miller here. Through this really fast left-hand sweeper. Bit of road to use if you need it on exit. Just great rhythm to this section. Quick tap of the brakes, turn it in, squeeze back on the power. Use all of the road there. Look how tight they get to that wall.
This is right in the back of the top 10 where that battle is being played out. Man, this is fierce stuff all throughout the field. Dyer to the inside of Corallo gets the move made. Hindman having to be defensive there. He's still mixed up with Shimshak as well as Grahovic.
I'm sure that Grahovic actually started at the back of the pack, and we saw that formation lap. We saw Orblin there. I did not see the 11 car, so we certainly had a timing sheet that said that Grahovic was starting at the back, but I think he started more mid-pack, and that's making this battle right now.
That would make more sense, certainly. So apologies there for the incorrect information. Nevertheless, it's still not the kind of starting position you would anticipate from that pairing that has been so strong since they came together back at Circuit of the Americas in the second race weekend of the year.
How awesome is this racing? Shimshak there down in 16th position overall, our silver class leaders of the championship. We had a big day here yesterday with the 11 car being demoted.
There's been a lot that has taken place, and we're just 5 minutes and 3 seconds into this race. Still a long way to go. If you're new to Pirelli GT4 America, 60 minutes. There is a pit stop in the middle just for a driver change. The tires you start on are the tires you finish with. We'll see the mandatory pit stop window between 35 and 25 minutes remaining on the clock. This is, though, the front of the field. Spencer Pumpelly, the overall pole sitter, leading Elliott Skier back in competitive racing for just the second weekend in a number of years. He was racing for this team at Road America, and I thought gave the car a really good ride and had a nice strong run yesterday, showing his quality here with a nice run in second at the moment.
Look at Owen Trinkler. He's got to the front of that little pack of Aston Martins, now running third overall and in Pro-Am.
This is Owen in the WR Racing Aston Martin, filling in for Brandon Davis this weekend alongside Paul Terry.
Terry had a nice run here yesterday as well, so a lot of pace in that car. Kenan Cook up and over the curbing there a little bit. Povolato in his wheel tracks, in his shadows there. Then comes Leah Fuge, who's kind of rebounded from not a great opening lap here today.
But settling in, and he's still running ahead of his quarry as far as the points are concerned in Pro-Am. That's the 47 Nola Sport car that came through the back of the shot just a few moments ago. Keep a close eye on Jason Hart, and then when Matt Travis is installed, he's usually there amongst the fastest in his portion of these races.
White blue Aston Martin, excuse me, Mercedes at the back of this pack here is Kyle Marcelli with Gumprecht in the 79 machine for Rentec.
That's a pairing that came together for the first time, I believe, at Road America, and they're back together here for the Rentec team. And putting some pressure here is Marcelli.
Big time.
On Leah Fuge. Leah Fuge shuts the door on him there.
Didn't close it completely, but didn't give him a car width where he's looking for. Marcelli, a GT4 champion a couple of years ago in North America, so a lot of experience in this field.
Definitely so. Has a lot of experience winning races in GT3 as well over the last few years. Jason Hart to the inside of Dyer. Can he get alongside? No, not for now. That will stall out some of his progress, at least temporarily. Giving that car a nice run. He's got Thomas Merrill and another Porsche Cayman right behind him.
These cars literally fly around this circuit. So much grip here at Watkins Glen International. Perfectly suited to these GT4 machines. Oh, that was wild there from Orble, and really wide there coming off that final corner as he's trying to cut his way through this field. He's got halfway, essentially.
That shot is equal parts thrilling and terrifying.
It's a great camera shot. I love it.
Great job by the crew to get that position there. Really shows the speed and commitment around that corner, and that carries through for the rest of this racetrack too. Hart continuing to put the pressure on Dyer, who himself is trying to find a way around Ian James. That's the way it goes in Pirelli GT4 America. Spencer Pumpelly extending the lead now to 0.8 of a second. Then back down to Owen Trinkler here in third place as we watch the battle for the final step of the podium. Let's head to the pit lane and Kyle Heyer.
Thanks, Ryan. Down here with Derek DeBoer for the number 66 TRG Porsche. Currently leading overall right now, Derek. So Spencer Pumpelly has a pretty commanding lead at the moment. Do you think you can hang on when you jump in the car?
That's the plan, and Spencer's just up there doing what he does best and staying in front of everybody and trying to build me a gap. The team, we've been really working on the car this weekend, and I think today we finally have the setup that we were looking for. Had a little bit of, the racing god smiled on us a little bit in qualifying yesterday and let us be in the front, so that's where the Porsche thrives.
We know racing can get pretty fierce, and the pit stop and driver change always mixes things up. So as we head into the final half of this race, how comfortable have you been this weekend here at Watkins Glen? It's a fast, grippy racetrack. How have you acclimated to the speeds around here? Like I said, we've been chasing it a little bit, just trying to find that perfect setup, and we were a little bit off through practice and qualifying and not a lot of run time. So we kind of threw the dice last night at it. The TRG guys did an awesome job. We've got a bunch of our friends from LaSalle here watching, so my job's to get in the car and keep it where Spencer has it. So keep those Fast Life TV kids on the hood in the front. Derek aims to keep the 66 up front after the driver change, Ryan.
Looks like there was a moment on track for Kenton Cook. We see a bunch of grass in the grill of that Aston Martin. This one right here, and he also dropped a couple of spots on that lap. Aaron Povoleto and Greg Leafouge both have made their way past the B-Sport Racing Aston.
Yeah, he was sandwiched in that Aston Martin battle between Trinkler and Povoleto, so he's obviously had a bit of an off and drops from track position there. Now the big concern is the temperature gauge and seeing what sort of readout he's seeing. But certainly Derek DeBoer brought up a great point, and that the racing god smiled on him a little bit. It was a very damn drying racetrack for Spencer Pumpelly to grab that pole position, but they got the job done. And since that point, they got the track position, they had the pole position, and as he said, we've worked on the race car and got into a sweet spot. So let's see what they can do with it and maybe come through with a win.
Spencer has been slowly but steadily extending that lead, just fractions of a second here and there, but it's up to 1.1 over Elliott Skier. Owen Trinkler has closed in on Elliott though, and it's now just 0.4 of a second between third, make that second and third. And Aaron Povoleto certainly in the mix as well. Interesting to see, though, the problems here for Kenton Cook, because he has the fastest lap of the race so far. Things not totally just perfection for him and the B-Sport team at the moment, especially with all that grass right there.
Marcelli here at the back of this little lead pack is looking like he has a lot of promise and potential in that car, but just cutting through the field. Mercedes doesn't seem to be strong in the correct places to make a move, so here's a big battle here. Ian James and Tom Dyer up into the brake zone for turn 9.
This has been brewing for a few laps now. Fight for second also brewing. Skier leaves just enough room there, and here comes Trinkler, going to try the long way around in 11.
Watch Povoleto, though. He's going to get a big run on these two, I feel.
Yep, you called it, Calvin. Now with the double slipstream up ahead, what can Aaron do for this brand new team? 3R Povoleto Racing. He and Roche West have been a great pairing here so far this weekend. They're first in an Aston Martin. Skier holds off the challenge, and that opens the door for Aaron. He slides through on Owen.
Yeah, he handled that really nicely. Didn't overcommit down into the brake zone for turn 1. Just kind of left Owen out to dry there a little bit on the outside. So we saw the opportunity evolve as they came through turns 10 and 11 and just made it stick by the end of turn 1.
That cost Trinkler some momentum. Greg Leafouge swings to the inside now in the Stephen Cameron racing car that has dropped back since the start of this race. Able to swing up the inside and grab another spot. So just a few moments ago, Trinkler was the aggressor, and now he has dropped back a couple of spots here in just a few corners as we keep a close eye on the Conquest racing car of Colin Mullen, who is slowly bringing this pack into his grasp.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race right now for the Conquest racing machine of Colin Mullen, so he's catching this group as they squabble for positions here. Nice move there by Povoleto, so he's gotten around Skier.
That moves him up to second. Great drive from him. And now Spencer Pumpelly becomes the quarry for Aaron Povoleto, who is running there in that Aston Martin. Skier has dropped back to second, falling into the clutches of another Aston. 59 car here. That's Trinkler. So sorry, he didn't drop back as much as I thought. That was actually Kitten Cook now, who's behind Liafouge. And this is the car on the move. He made the pass on Ian James a few laps ago, and since then, Colin Mullen has been flying to the front.
He has a lot of pace there, and I think that fellow Mercedes in front of him, Carl Marcelli, has got pace, but just can't seem to figure out a way to get through this traffic right now.
Told the story yesterday, but Colin, a student at Ohio State University, and made the drive up to Watkins Glen after completing his physics lab on Thursday. A little bit faster here today, as he did yesterday. He and Makai Stevens, two youngsters with a lot of promise. That John Farrow is a principal alongside Eric Bachelard of this program, and plucked up and given them a great chance. We know Stevens will be in the car for the rest of the year. Who will be alongside is a bit to be determined, but Colin Mullen is loving every opportunity he's been given and making a solid case for a repeat performance down the road.
Yeah, Paul Vallejo has kind of escaped that little battle that was squabbling over those final podium positions right now. I know it's early in the going, but Paul Vallejo's Aston Martin has a lot of pace. It's going to be interesting on this clear lap now. Now he's escaped that traffic, to see if he can close in on our leader, Spencer Pumpelly, before we get to the pit stop opening, which will be in about 10 minutes' time.
Trinkler able to pounce on Skier. And you know, that's the car that was started by Adam Adelson yesterday, and he was running nicely at the front, but late in his run, he started to drop back too. And I just wonder if they don't have the long run handling quite dialed into that car, because we're seeing basically the same thing happen here today.
Yeah, almost identical. Very strong for about 10-15 minutes in the stint, and then kind of fading just a little bit.
That's all it takes, as close as this field is. To my eye, at least, some of that grass situation has been dealt with by Cook, and yeah, Marcelli.
Marcelli's slowing. Marcelli's slowing. He's, you can see Mullen got by, and in this lap he's lost another couple of positions. Some kind of issues here for Kyle.
Dyer and James have made the pass recently, and here comes Jason Hart as well. Hart now 10th in Pro-Am. That would be another.
For them, Liafouge is not having a great day, albeit he's in 5th position, so still a big point swing potential.
And that would be another spot, though, assuming Marcelli's problems can't be rectified quickly. It is a fellow class car. Should set the classes for you at the moment. Here comes Hart up the inside. We'll see how hard Marcelli fights this. It's quite a wide berth, I have to say, at the apex, but it's not done yet. Now it is.
Both drivers trying to create as much room as they could at the critical moment as they came down towards the apex there. Hart was up and over the inside curve, and Marcelli, as you said, gave plenty of room.
Top 5, make that top 6 overall are Pro-Am class cars. Then you get to the silver leader, which is Colin Mullen. He runs 7th in the overall order.
Problem here for Liafouge. The hood is up.
Oh my gosh.
Remember we talked about that contact earlier today? Maybe one of those hood pins or catches was loosened a little bit. And this is massive for Jason Hart and Matt Travis, who were buried in the pack a little bit. They were their closest challenger in the points.
Well, if Travis and Hart can escape running only one of the 2 races this weekend and effectively come out actually with a better point situation than they started, that's what they're in position to do potentially here today, given that issue there for Liafouge. That's a pretty remarkable achievement. Dexter Racing Aston, followed by the Smooge Racing Toyota Supra. That Supra right now is not in the top 2 in AM. A little bit further down the order, John Jesbray driving. Warren Dexter driving this Aston Martin. And they deserve a lot of credit for what Aaron Povoleto's been able to do, because they are assisting that car get up to speed. And as I say it, here comes Aaron. He has caught Spencer Pumpelly in the slipstream, pokes the nose to the inside, then slots back in line, but we've got a battle for the overall lead.
Yeah, incredible pace there with that 50 machine right now. So what a debut weekend with them and that Aston Martin chassis. Had the big shunt at Road America a couple of weeks ago. Had to regroup, switch teams, switch chassis, and have a performance like this, looking for the lead early.
How about this? A brand new team in 3R Povoleto Racing going up one of the established teams in North American sports car racing, TRG. And right now, there's nothing between the two. You see a local yellow ahead of the inner loop there, and what that does effectively is take away a potential passing zone. You can't pass there in the local yellow sector. They're using that to cover the stranded car so we don't have to go full course yellow, but that's one of the implications.
He has a great point, Ryan, and it is a prime overtaking opportunity if you can get that big run. But right now, Pirelli has better pace, but then we get into the racecraft of Spencer Pumpelly. He'd love to hold on to this now. The pit lane opening time will happen in about 6 minutes, but we expect these pros to really kind of eat into that 10-minute window. So there's maybe another 20 minutes here that Spencer's going to have to try and hang on to this lead with.
And then the race changes because that's when the driver change occurs. And especially in these Pro-Am lineups, it becomes the less experienced driver behind the wheel, and they're left to finish out the race on Sunday. Full course yellow comes out. That breaks off this duel for now. It also occurs just prior to the pit stop window. So that's going to bunch everybody up and make pit stop execution even more crucial than it already is.
Yeah, I think Leofus's car there is just in a problem area. So it's meant to be a runoff area. If you have a technical issue, typically is when you're going to bail down there. And with the car just sitting there, it's right in an impact zone, so they have to get that one cleaned up. And there's going to be a little bit of a reset here, and I guarantee you, as soon as we go back to green flag racing, that pit lane window will be open. And then it's all about strategy. What do you do with it?
Now, it's absolutely heartbreaking for Leofuge and Quinlan, the Stephen Cameron Racing team. Done a nice job as of late to stay in touch in the Pro-Am Championship. Thought this might be the weekend where they could make some headway just because of the scheduling issues for Matt Travis and forcing them to miss yesterday's race. And they did make some ground up, not as much as they might have, and then pretty much all that washes away.
It does, unfortunately. But that's what a championship season is all about. I mean, you'd love to go through it, be smooth sailing, but you're going to have these ups and downs and just consequences of these dual racing programs that a lot of these teams are doing with the GT America class racing a little bit earlier today and chassis being shared. It can have that trickle-down effect on you.
Did want to mention and follow up on a story. I made mention of the fact earlier that Aaron Povolato, Ross Schwest, it looked like they had a podium on debut yesterday, and that got changed around post-race. So from that podium, they got moved back to fourth, fifth overall, but fourth in Pro-Am. The stewards ultimately handing down a one-position penalty for causing a collision late in that race. And they actually were affected by the steward's decision in another race yesterday, too, in GT America, powered by AWS competition. Today's race over there was a bit more straightforward. So far, it has been here, too. No matter what, however you cut it, this has been a phenomenal debut for a brand-new team that was thrown together in just a couple of weeks.
It has. Super impressive because the standard and the level in Sprint X this year is simply phenomenal. When you look at some of the drivers that are out there and the experience, you got Pumpelly continuing to lead from Povolato, but Owen Trinkler, Elliott Skier, Kenton Cook, Colin Mullen, Dyer, James, Hart, Marcelli Hinman, and then Oberlin has cut his way from the very back of this deep field all the way up to 12th overall. He's going to have another little nibble here, I feel, before he turns over the reins to his teammate here, James Walker Jr.
And it's all about the timing here and the way the pit window works in the event that the safety car period overlaps with that window. You cannot serve your mandatory pit stop under yellow, so effectively they'll just move that window back when the race goes green. Good grief, is that Matt? No, that's John Allen. Chris Wilson. Speaking of John Allen, he got sheared yesterday.
He did.
They had an overall pole as a team, and Chris Wilson put that car on the pole, and John was so excited, he let John Capestro Dubets from a rival team come over and shave his big old beard off.
Here's someone who's ready to go, James Clay. Looks like he's got his game face on.
Quickly, though, to close up on the pit window situation. So if it should, actually, you know what? It becomes academic here because we're not going to have to deal with it. So we'll save that explanation for another time and instead focus on the restart because Spencer Pumpelly and company are about to hit the loud pedal once again.
Apex of turn 11 is the go zone, and here he goes. He goes a little bit early, catches Aaron Povolato by surprise, and that takes the pressure off Pumpelly as they head down towards turn 1.
Looks like the fight is going to be for 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the overall order. Skier taking a peek to the inside of Trinkler, and behind him, that's Kenton Cook, who for a time had the fastest lap of the race that has been superseded by Aaron Povolato a few laps ago. Nice clean restart, and the perfect restart if you're Spencer Pumpelly.
Look at Colin Mullen there in that Conquest Racing silver Mercedes there in the middle of this pack. He's had some big moves and has a lot of pace in that machine.
Starting to close up on Kenton Cook a little bit in this run towards the inner loop. Pumpelly, his lead that he earned there with that restart, it has disappeared. Povolato is right back where he was before the full course yellow came out and broke off their duel.
On that charge to the front, Povolato has secured fastest lap of the race so far, nipping Colin Mullen's time, so he now sets it at a 155.6. Side by side between Skier and Kenton Cook there, down into turn 6.
Two young drivers on a similar career trajectory, getting great lifelines with their respective programs and showing just how good they are. Right now, though, advantage Kenton Cook and that B-Sport Racing team. Kenton makes the pass on the Cayman.
Look at the run that Dyer gets on Mullen. That was beautifully judged there by Tom Dyer aboard the car bound with Peregrine Racing Audi, and gets to the inside and makes the move.
Colin, though, trying to fight back around the outside, and he's able to hold firm. Now the track comes back his direction. Can Dyer hold station on the outside?
That was awesome racing between those two, and just showcases this Watkins Glen layout, how you can get super racy. Still side by side. Dyer just clears him by the time they turn in to turn 10 there.
Great fight between the veteran Dyer and the up-and-comer Colin Mullen, former champion in this series, in a McLaren for Andretti Autosport alongside Jared Andretti. Pit window is open, and a few takers here early on.
Yeah, and if you got a good co-driver to jump in, you'll take that early opportunity. Certainly for Classic BMW, Toby did a nice job there, but he's going to turn over the reins to Stephen McAleer.
Ryan Dexter set to take over for Warren Dexter, Tim Barber for Cole Corallo, and the other thing is these guys will have a clear track to work with the rest of the field all bunched up for that full course yellow. We'll soon see some of those pit stop times coming in, but the fight for the lead continues with Pumpelly trying to keep Povolato at bay.
Yeah, and let's not forget, you can't use these tires up too much. There's no tire change in GT4 Sprint X competition. You got to maintain that same set of tires for the full 60 minutes. So leave your teammates something to hang on with here.
That's exactly what Spencer Pumpelly has to be thinking about while he's trying to drive the racetrack, while he's trying to hold off this challenge from Aaron Povolato. Aston Martin versus Porsche. The Aston of Owen Trinkler and Kenton Cook behind. Much as we saw yesterday, Calvin, as the race has gone along, the Astons seem to come to the fore.
They do. They're very strong here, but Spencer's car looks to be well balanced. It doesn't look like it's squirming around, so that's good news. It probably means that the tire life is going to be good here. The other thing is, with the amount of grip that you see here at Watkins Glen with the racing surface, means you're not sliding across the road and you're generating those tire temps. Very cool day as well. So all of these co-drivers should be in pretty good shape when they jump in here on these pit stops coming up.
Initial pit stops are complete. 76 seconds is the pit lane delta minimum. Looks like the Dexters nailed it. They were only a 1/10 of a second over. A little bit slower was the Grohovic to McAleer change.
Here comes Povolato. He gets the run. Ryan down to the inside. How deep can he take it on the brakes? Can Spencer roll that outside lane? Looks like he's going to have to give it up. Can he do the crisscross here and get back to the inside?
He cannot. Aaron Povolato to the point. 3R Povolato Racing leads in their debut weekend here at Watkins Glen, but Spencer Pumpelly trying to come back through the S's. Said he loves this part of the track since the repave in these GT4 cars.
Yeah, I think Spencer's thinking maybe my teammate can get the job done, so let's not fight too hard, but he gets a big run here down the back stretch. Not enough to clear Aaron. Aaron slows it down nicely, runs that tighter line there, protecting on the inside.
It was a good counterpunch from Spencer, but Aaron had the answer, and now able to pull away, showing the strength of that Aston Martin platform. Conquest Racing making their stop. Colin Mullen giving away to Mackay Stevens. Driver change done. They release that car.
Got to be careful where you got hot tires on, so you got to make sure you get the good launch. So if you're running it right down to say just go and run at the speed limit and you'll be right on the number, you can't afford any bobbles, otherwise you're going to be giving up time there.
Now Chris Wilson take over as well for John Allen. They were a little bit under the minimum, but I don't believe they used their joker yesterday, so they'll be all right.
Good start for Conquest. Couple of tenths underneath that minimum, and again, I don't think they used their joker yesterday, so that should be good. Everyone's right up with the game in terms of utilizing that on day 2 if you didn't on day 1.
Most of the stops have been pretty clean. A couple from the AM class that have extended longer than you would hope. Everybody else within a second or 2 of the minimum time you're looking for, nearly halfway through the pit window.
Yeah, we expect these pros to stay out and maximize their drive time here today. Even so, you got to watch the traffic up ahead. You don't want to eat into that gap that you've created by trying to deal with lap traffic. You may opt to bail in early.
Whatever the drama was for Kenton Cook earlier that cost him a couple of spots, we saw the grass in the radiator. He has answered. He has charged his way forward and now is starting to challenge Spencer Pumpelly for second. Here's a silver class fight. This is for class position here between 3 cars, actually, with Kenny Murillo in the Murillo Racing car, working his way to the inside of Ryan Dexter in the Dexter Racing Aston, and Tim Barber now in the CCR by TFB BMW. Something not quite right there for the Murillo car. Lost a ton of momentum, but now back up to pace, trying to get the spot he just lost to Barber back.
Yeah, good eye there. He definitely lost a little bit of acceleration there, so trying to regroup. Just made their pit stop on the previous lap, so you're right. It's Kenny Murillo behind the wheel right now, trying to repeat what they did yesterday. There's his teammate, having done a really solid job.
As they have all year long.
There was contact coming off that corner, which kind of prohibited getting back to power. It was really tight there, coming through the toe of the boot.
This would be possibly the explanation for the problem for Shimshak. Door-to-door contact there, Calvin.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this was on Murillo's outlap or not.
I think it would have been. They came in, I believe, the second time around, whereas we saw the Dexters, they were one of the first 3 cars to come in.
That's what happens when you get out there and you're not quite into your rhythm yet, just trying to coexist on the racetrack. Now we see the leaders battling their way through a little bit of traffic here.
Car, that's the Automatic Racing Aston, relatively new team to the championship, right there in the thick of things. That's the silver Aston that is behind the leader, Aaron Povoledo, and now right in the way. Not that there's much he could do about it. That's a 1-lane part of the racetrack of Spencer Pumpelly. Kenton Cook right there too, watching, waiting, trying to see if he's got a chance to make an attack or if he can just clear the lap car, and he does.
Yeah, and these leaders are going to have to come in this lap, I feel. Can't squeeze another one out, so be a lot of activity. Bunch of cars yet to make that first round of pit stops, which you expect on day 2 with the pros starting. Want to maximize that drive time, particularly after that reset with the relatively late full course yellow period during this first stint of racing.
Elliot Skier made the call to the pit lane on this lap. He's giving way to Adam Adelson. It's a Pro-Am class car. Here comes Kenton Cook looking to the inside of Pumpelly. That is close between the 2 of them, but they get away without any contact.
Yeah, just really great driving between the 2 of them, recognizing to give each other just enough room, fighting for position here. Don't want to throw it all away. You're not going to gain much if you're heading to pit lane this go around, but certainly it can be significant. If you have that track position, you do equal pit stops, you would assume your teammate would then lead that car when you exit pit lane.
Tom Dyer reiterating the picture too in the Carbon Audi just behind these 2. He'll give way to Samir Gandhi. In just a matter of moments, we expect to see everyone who has not done so already diving into the pit lane, and yes, indeed, that is the call.
It would be tight. It'd be so super tight to try and squeak another one out. As you can see there, time on the board. Been running lap times, 156s believe is the fastest 155, maybe fastest lap of the day. So it would have been really tight to try and squeak another one. Not worth the risk.
The Skier to Adelson stop was pretty good, just 1.7 tenths over the minimum. And here we go. New team going to work, just the second time they've done this driver change in the line of fire.
Should be plenty of time. You got about 45 seconds to work with. You lose 31 seconds just coming down pit lane at 50 kilometers an hour. 76-second minimum delta. Gives you plenty of time. Just keep it calm. Don't panic. Don't sit on the belts. Ideally, you should have all of this done and probably have about 10 seconds to play with and just be released. Working with the stopwatch to know the exact time to release the car and not waste any time.
Schwest will have some recent track knowledge. He took part in the Pirelli GT4 America race earlier today, but it does not look like that was a clean stop for the team. They dropped a couple of spots there. You can see it. And it was B Sport Racing that seems to have taken advantage.
Big gainer right there. Gumprecht may have been holding up a little bit. Looked like they were gapping, so either Brian Putt was going too quick or Gumprecht wasn't going fast enough to look like there was a big gap.
Here's the problem. Gumprecht was released too soon, and even slowing down like he did, he still was under the minimum. That's going to hurt him, and it hurt everyone who was stuck in that train behind him, too.
That's exactly right. The team must have radioed, you got to lose some time before you get to pit out, and he still didn't lose enough, but it certainly hurt everyone else, including Derek De Boer.
Derek De Boer now driving through the red mist. He's moving to the inside. TRG Porsche around Rintec Mercedes.
Oh, he's wide. He's wide. He just keeps it together, pushing hard here. Tires are not cold, obviously. They stayed on the race car, but just sat still for about a minute on pit lane.
Really tight stuff here. All these drivers fresh into their respective race cars and immediately into the fight. 24 minutes remaining, pit window closed, so now we let the field cycle through and take stock of the situation. Looks like B Sport Racing, though, the big winners in that whole situation there, to come out with the overall race lead. And look at this gaggle of cars behind.
Yeah, this is wild. Oh, big move down to the inside. That's Paul Terry, I believe, and he gets into the side.
It's Ross Schwest.
Yeah, just a late move down to the inside and just turns him, and that pivots him around.
Yep, that's the erstwhile race leader.
The tire, maybe?
Yes.
That's disappointing. Two really strong cars here this morning.
That's the one that Owen Trinkler started right here. Here, let's take a look at it again. Everyone getting really defensive, everyone close together and fresh out of the pits, right into the thick of the battle.
Yeah, just big commitment there down to the inside. And look at the 47, the championship leader, just escapes. Nice heads-up driving there. I think that was Matt Travis.
Would have been. Wow. Think about how that might have changed in a flash.
That was wild. Just, I think Paul was a little bit aggressive down at the inside, but I think also for Schwest, he could have given him a little bit of room if he recognized he was there to avoid that incident.
I would suggest another big winner in this so far, as Travis now is stalking Adam Adelson, was the Silver Cup car from Classic BMW. Stephen McAleer taking over for Toby Grahovic. Random Vandals racing car with a problem here. Paul Sparta driving the number 98. And it is dead stick at the moment. Gumprecht has gone for a spin there in the inner loop.
Action everywhere right now as things trying to settle in with the second drivers now behind the wheel.
Kevin Conway replacing John Jesbray in that Supra that's in the middle of that trio. But I think what this Classic team was able to do, they pitted really early, and that gave Stephen McAleer a clean racetrack to work with. He turned in a bunch of fast laps, and that has vaulted him ahead in the order. Deep inside the top 10 now, running 5th overall and leading in the silver class ahead of the Conquest car, but not by much. That's Mackay Stevens giving chase right behind. It was 0.2 of a second at the line. I don't think it changed much from there. And they've got Derek De Boer in their crosshairs.
Yeah, And some really fast race cars right now, piloted by some really fast drivers as well. So McAleer gets the run, gets to the inside of Derek De Boer as they head into turn 10. Mackay Stevens right now in his shadows as well. He looks for a way through.
This is where team communication is crucial. This is not a class battle for Derek De Boer. These are two silver class cars coming through. And as long as he is aware of that, he'll know not to fight them too hard and thereby lose time relative to those he actually is racing for position.
Ray Newell doing another great job here, coming off the podium run yesterday. He sits 5th on the road, 3rd in the Pro-Am class. I'm going to try and chase down that TRG Porsche.
That's exactly what he's doing. Best all-around weekend out of Ray Newell we've seen all season long, not just in this championship, but also in the single driver GT America races so far this weekend. Another local yellow here going into the inner loop, and that's
slowing down quite considerably here.
Not sure that was a pass. He shouldn't have been passing there. I did see the green flag at the corner station at the exit of the inner loop. Maybe it had been lifted before the pass was made there. Oh, I see. So that was actually Travis maybe trying to make the pass and not the other way around. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's how they came across the line, so one would assume that's the case. But it's tough. You got to make the right calls there and recognize it and correct it as soon as you can, because if you get to a certain point, there's a couple of cars in between you and the car that you passed. You can't just give it back.
Fight for silver lead going on right there between McAleer and Stevens, and this is for 2nd in Pro-Am, with Derek De Boer fending off the far less experienced Ray Newell. This is his first season of racing in anything. Extensive testing last year to get him ready, but as you talked about yesterday, Calvin, it's been a learning experience, learning how to race, and we're seeing that he's made some high marks on his tests here as of late.
Really done a great job, and not that far behind, remarkably, is James Walker Jr. So we talked about that car starting at the back of the pack, is now down at the inside. Here comes McAleer. Makes the move for the overall lead. He already leads in the silver class, but Kai Stevens gets a run as well. So big battle here. Brian Puck gives it up. That's the Pro-Am leader, electing to let those two silver class cars go on by and settle back in. Focus on the big picture of his class lead as Colin Mullen looks on.
And that lead is nearly 3.5 seconds between Putt and the Derek De Boer driven TRG car that is embroiled in a confrontation right now with Ray Newell. So that's absolutely the right play. Let these silver cars come through that are in the midst of their own fight for the class lead. Don't lose much time if at all possible, and then build your rhythm, build your gap. He's right where he wants to be as far as the Pro-Am fight is concerned.
Well, I believe this Mercedes may be a little bit quicker, but trying to get around Stephen McAleer with his racecraft and natural speed is not going to be easy.
Now, Mackay Stevens does not have much GT4 racing experience at all, certainly in the pro ranks where Road America was his debut, but he has done quite a bit of racing in single-seaters, although it's been a little while. He was part of the Jeremy Shaw's Team USA scholarship, went over to the UK to race in some Formula Ford races, and actually finished 3rd in the Walter Hayes Trophy, which is no mean feat. Yeah. Giving you an idea of what kind of talent he has, and turned that into a few opportunities to do some junior open wheel racing here at the States, but it's kind of stalled out for him ever since until this chance came. And told the story earlier about Colin Mullen getting the shot, thanks in part to a shootout that John Farrow put on for aspiring young drivers. Oh, is this I thought I might have saw a tire down there. But quickly to wrap up the story about Mackay, he's been out of racing since 2016, but this is a chance to get back in it, and he's showing just how good he and Colin can be with this brand new operation. Let's go down to the pit lane where Kyle is standing by.
Hi, Ryan, with Aaron Povolato for the number 50 car. It came in leading the race. Now, of course, the car got spun out after, so there's an uphill climb towards the end of the race, but how confident are you that Ross can take care of that?
You know, Ross is going to do the absolute best that he can. There's a heck of a car underneath him. It's our first weekend driving this Aston Martin. I love this machine. I'm already falling in love with it. It's such a strong car, takes care of its tires pretty well. It's competitive in all the main boxes. It is so much fun to fight and push with it. So Ross has just got to put his head down, push as hard as he can, make us all proud here.
Just a momentary setback for the number 50, guys.
Just a little one.
Aaron's a great character, always upbeat, always smiling.
Look at this battle. Gray Newell has got around Derek DeBoer, and James Walker has followed him through. So that is podium positions right there. What a run for that 34 Bimmerwell car, starting at the very back of the field, up into a Pro-Am podium position.
That's a great point. Great opening stint from Bill Oberlin, but now James Walker Jr. doing exactly what he needs to do, slowly. Looks like reeling in Gray Newell a little bit. And Matt Travis doing what NOLA Sport needs to do. Their championship rivals had the issue earlier. The hood went up for Greg Leofouge that brought out the full course yellow. So they will not be scoring points today.
Curious to see the lap times, Ryan, excuse me, in terms of what these leaders are doing in Pro-Am. Brian Putt's lead is not insurmountable, and there's a ton of time left on the board. So for Gray Newell, can he go one better than they did yesterday here in Ian James and get the victory? And can James Walker go with him?
That becomes the question. Right now, it's Matt Travis working his way past Derek DeBoer. Travis has Tom Capizzi in that Autotechnic BMW behind him. I think that's the sign of a driver racing the championship in mind. Travis was pretty close to being alongside, but backed out of it, not to risk the issue, and will live to fight again another day. But in so doing, that brings Capizzi and also the Dexter car into the mix.
Capizzi coming off an incident just an hour or so ago in the touring car race where he had contact with the wall up in turn 9. So they had a brilliant run here yesterday, grabbing that victory.
That loss in momentum forced Travis on the defensive. That's allowed DeBoer to scoot away. For now, Travis had the answer. Looks like he's slowly reeling in that Porsche once again, and Capizzi is in the crosshairs of Ryan Dexter. This is out of class here with the silver class Dexter Aston. And back to the front we go, where Mackay Stevens is heaping the pressure onto the veteran Stephen McAleer.
Yeah, I don't think flashing your headlights is going to do much to distract Stephen McAleer, but nonetheless, great performance here by Mackay. The car is really carving the corners. I think the BMW is seems to be sliding a little bit more. It seems to have a little bit of an edge in top speed, so Stephen's just got to really recognize where his weak points on this circuit and really defend vigorously there and try and hold on. Still 14 minutes to go, though.
Stephen versus Stevens here at the front of the field. Stephen McAleer, the Scot, now living in New York State. And then we've got the Chicago native, Mackay Stevens, right behind. He's got word from race control. Driver of the 79 report to the stewards post-race. Yep.
This little gaggle coming on the front stretch. DeBoer is really trying to hang on here, but he's got a lot of tough cars behind him.
Capizzi has passed Travis, so that's a position in the Pro-Am, and he's about to have an out-of-class car in between him, it looked like, as Ryan Dexter was making his way around the outside. 13 minutes left, overall and Silver Cup up for grabs here. That's 1 and 2 in that class. Good to see that Paul Sparta's been able to get the Random Vandals car going again.
Look at Gray Newell. This is for the class lead. Brian Putt defends down to the inside. Gray is trying to set him up here. He's escaped the attention of James Walker, so he can just focus forward in terms of trying to grab that lead right now.
What a weekend it's been for Gray Newell. He's been on the podium a couple of times across 2 different series. A win, though, would be a first for him and for Ian James. And he can see it. It's right there. He can almost reach out and touch it, but it's still 12 minutes to go. And Brian Putt is not going to let that one go easy. Plus, now you've got James Walker Jr. entering into the conversation. This is 1, 2, and 3 in Pro-Am.
Yeah, that traffic really has pushed this lead group closer together here. So talking about Gray Newell, does not have much race experience. Got a lot of track time last year just doing test days with the Heart of Racing team. Ian James said he's come along nicely. We want to throw him in at the deep end now in terms of doing both championships here with GT America and Sprint X GT4. But it's all about learning racecraft, and he is showcasing it here this weekend.
Full course yellow breaks off that fight, and oh, that's a heavy hit there. 2 Caymans, TRG and Premier, and this is how it happened, or at least the end of it.
Yeah, just trying to coexist here on that little stretch between the toe and the heel of the boot.
It looked like they were already off further back, maybe bounced back across the track even with some of the tire marks there.
Yeah, we've seen cars here lock horns this weekend where you're suddenly accelerating off a corner as the TRG looks on. The Spencer Pumpelly in the middle there on the headset, probably talking to Derek right now. Oh, and he just got sandwiched. I think that slower car was kind of making everything get really tight there.
Wow, that was close for the Murillo car. Silver Cup points leader, and nothing Adam Adelson could have done.
No. I think you just had a lot of cars running together. You had the Vandals racing machine running slow on the side of the road, so everything just got a kind of pinch there.
Too many cars, not enough real estate, unfortunately. And not sure you could point the blame anywhere there. That's just an unfortunate racing situation. Derek DeBoer, I think, got the worst end of it. Adam Adelson as well. That was unbelievably close for Kenny Murillo. And yeah, you could see the disappointment on Spencer Pumpelly just in the body language. That's the overall pole-sitting car here today.
Yeah, had a great run, tried to hang on to that lead, ultimately had to give it up before the round of pit stops to Aaron Povolato. And then Derek was kind of losing a few positions there, and just unfortunate, wrong place at the wrong time.
10 minutes left. That was a big debris field, a lot of fluid on the circuit. Look at those barriers too. I do wonder if there's enough time left.
It's going to be super tight to see any more green flag racing action, which is a shame for Gray Newell because he was right there with Brian Putt for that Pro-Am lead and 3rd overall. Same thing for the silver lead as well, Mackay Stevens.
The other side of the equation, I think this helps the AM class leader. Update here though on the 15 car for a drive-through or
short pit stop. So I think they were underneath, but maybe they were underneath yesterday. Did I call it within
must be the case. We'll try and sort that out. But while we're doing that, let's head down to the pits and Kyle.
Hi, Ryan. Was just talking with Ian James from the Heart of Racing Aston Martin team. They just told me that they were not pushing to get by that number 15 B Sport Racing Aston because they heard about the drive-through penalty. So on this restart, they should be the leader in class.
Good update. Thank you, Kyle, for that information.
Yeah, that's huge. I don't recall seeing them being more than 1 second underneath. You get that 1 second joker
once
per
a
weekend.
Yeah.
This is huge for this team. So much experience there with the crew and with Ian James, of course. So they've got that wry smile on their face right now, knowing that 15 car has to serve that penalty or they'll get a 31-second time added to their race time at the checkered flag. You can't serve the penalty under yellow. If we stay under caution, which I think we will, there's a big cleanup going on here with not a ton of time to go.
So what that would do then, I mean, under yellow conditions, it would drop 31 seconds. Yeah, with everybody packed together.
Compressed.
So probably out of the points, I think it's safe to say, and that would also then elevate a number of cars up further, obviously.
Good news, I just saw Derek DeBoer get in the medical vehicle there, so he looks to be okay.
Definitely relieved to see that. A couple of heavy impacts, not just with the barriers, but also with the Adelson Porsche as well. But back to the implications of such a penalty that would move Newell to the class lead, Walker to second, Capizzi onto the podium, and then Travis and Hart would score 4th place points, which, all things considered, especially when Quinlan and Leofouge will not score points today, that should help put them in a much more solid position with 4 races remaining.
Yeah, and when you pass by Leofouge and Quinlan, you then get to Cook and Putt, who were leading this, who were 3rd in the points. So They were going to kind of that championship lead, but that's not going to happen now with this penalty that has to be served. And they're one of those teams, the B Sport Racing team, who like to work on those fine margins. So we're not sure. It's showing on timing and scoring a short pit stop, but I don't recall seeing that. We'll wait and see if we can get that information back on our screen to see what sort of time they did. Just to reiterate, you're allowed a 1 second joker, so you can be underneath the minimum time of 76 seconds. And they were actually 74.2, so that's the reason. It wasn't that they used it yesterday. They were in fact underneath the minimum time by more than a second. That is the drive-through penalty. And just to clarify, if you don't do it before the checkered flag, you'll have 31 seconds added to your race time, which will plummet them down the order.
I was keeping an eye on the AM class prior to the yellow coming out, and Kevin Conway held the lead over Chris Wilson, but it was coming down about a second a lap. Wilson would have been there in a lap or two, I think. At that rate, there was still plenty of time, and this yellow might just have saved them and given Smooge Racing yet another class win. They have won at least once in class every weekend this year, but they've not swept yet, as I recall. This would be the first. This is the car in question. Kevin Conway driving, John Jesbray got the race started.
What a great combination in terms of the experience of Conway and the youth and speed of John Jesbray. Really impressive young man and great team. Tony Ave leads this operation. He has so much experience behind the wheel and just runs a great prep shop as well. Toyota Supra, this new GT4 machine, has certainly made some waves this year, getting some very impressive results. And great to see this turnkey platform from Toyota.
Sounds like 2 more are coming to this championship next year. Potentially a new team, potentially in partnership with an existing one. But some interesting stuff going on behind the scenes there. And you brought up a great point. I was going to do the same thing about Tony Ave and what he is doing with his team. We've talked a lot about what Smooge has done. Brand new team. Jesbray, a driver without much experience at all. And they've been fast from the word go, but it does help to have that veteran presence behind the scenes, and that's what Ave brings.
He does, and so much experience there. And, you know, he has a good association with Bill Riley. They've run a co-opt on a number of programs over the years, so it's a natural choice for TRD and Toyota to get cars underneath Tony's auspices, and they're doing a fine job leading this championship.
They should probably enjoy running in the AM class for the next 4 races, because I don't think it's going to last a whole lot longer. John, I suspect, is staring down the barrel of a silver driver ranking for next season, but talking to him earlier, he's just loving this. He's found the series to be everything he hoped for and more. He's been blown away by the amount of success they've been able to have, and he's got a real mentor in Kevin Conway, and all indications are they plan on being back together once again next year in some configuration, whatever the driver ratings work out to be.
Yeah, well, I think they have the potential to step up, you know, to the Pro-Am class, so that would be pretty cool to see.
It would.
And that's what this ladder system is all about in terms of the different classes throughout the SRO organization. We see it in the touring car class with teams and drivers jumping from TCA to TC and up to TCX this year, and certainly within the GT4 competition as drivers get regraded and given a different status that allows them to move up to the next class level. One thing's for sure, we're not going to see any more green flag running here today, so they may like to check this early, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Not the way we want to end these races, but the good news is after a big crash, everyone appeared to be all right, able to walk to the safety vehicle. Really feel for Derek DeBoer. He and Spencer Pumpelly had a great race going. And again, just a strange set of circumstances. White flag, I think, flying along with the yellow. So we'll do one more lap behind the safety car here and call it done. But yeah, just a lot of cars all mixed together, and one that was off the pace with an apparent problem. Everybody just arrived at the same place at the same time. There wasn't enough room.
Yes, unfortunate, and it's also taken the sting out of the tail here in terms of some really good battles for leads in all of the classes here, going right down the wire. As you mentioned, Chris Wilson had a nice run going aboard the Capstone Mercedes. Could he have put pressure on Conway for the AM win? We certainly talked about the Pro-Am battle with James Walker close to Putt and Newell. Putt is going to have to serve that penalty. That puts Newell in the lead. Could he have hung on? And then up front with McAleer, with Mackay Stevens showing a lot of pace there in that Conquest Racing Mercedes.
They had a good weekend, did Conquest at Road America, ran in the top 10 from time to time. This has been an excellent weekend with some good results in both races. There's no question. Everyone noticed that they were here this weekend, and they appear to be a force to be reckoned with for some time to come.
B-Sport Racing are going to be super frustrated. Looking like they're going to grab their second win of the year. Potential points gain on the championship leaders, who have had a difficult weekend with Matt Travis not competing here yesterday, wasn't on site, so they didn't score any points yesterday, obviously, by not taking the green. And then today, bit of a rebound up in the top 5, which will become 4th with Putt's penalty after the checkered flag here this afternoon.
It all comes down then to the final 4 races of the season. We head to Sebring next for a couple of races there, and then it wraps up on the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the build-up to the Indianapolis 8-hour. Fastest lap of the race was set by this car back in the opening stint. Aaron Povoleto, we heard from him earlier, set that lap. Ross Schwest had the spin at the beginning of his stint, and unfortunately that has them down in 9th after potentially contending for a podium, if not more. They were the overall leaders at one stage back in the opening stint of the race, had a slow pit stop, and that's another team that probably will be kicking themselves a little, because the slow pit stop is what put them in the situation to be in the traffic. And I mean, you never know how it would have played out otherwise, but the way it did play out, they ended up with the contact in the spin and cost them what might have been a very good result here.
Talk about the venues that we've been seeing this summer. Went from Road America here to the smooth track at Watkins Glen, and then we head to Sebring. You couldn't be more opposed in terms of respect the grip here to respect the bumps at Sebring. Classic circuit, iconic airport venue. Those concrete runways are pretty tough on race cars.
It's been a long time, over a decade, since the championship, now known as SRO America, has been to Sebring. There was a little bit of a history there, though, going back to the first decade of the century. And I'm excited to see what these cars, these different series can do there. It's a classic venue, has so much history, home of the first U.S. Grand Prix, and obviously very famous for the 12-hour race over the years. A unique challenge in a lot of respects with the bumps, and it's flat, and it's the airport circuit. Some very iconic and challenging corners around Sebring. We'll deal with Sebring, though, when we get there. For now, how about this bounce back for classic BMW? Got the DQ yesterday, but came back in a big way. Stephen McAleer and Toby Grahovic win overall at Watkins Glen. Pro-Am win will go to Gray Newell. And Ian James, Hart of Racing, elevated to the top spot due to the time penalty for B-Sport Racing. And now we just await the AM winners to come over the line. Looks like once again it's set to be Smooge Racing in the Toyota Supra with yet another win. Their first weekend sweep, however, of the season in Pirelli GT4 America. Kevin Conway and John Jesbray are the winners in AM, 14th overall. 4 races left in the season now, Calvin, and a lot up for grabs still. What did we learn here this weekend as the table was set for the final run to the end of the year?
Well, I just think the field is so deep, so competitive, and but also showcases that if you put the right group together in terms of the team and the driver lineup and the chassis, you can come in here and make waves immediately. And we saw that this weekend with Povolato and Schwest with that Aston Martin chassis, the 3R affiliation with Dexter Racing. I mean, that was a superb performance. Didn't go their way ultimately in terms of the win they were potentially going to get today, but just outstanding performance.
That it was. Provisional results, and they have taken into account that time penalty for Putt. It looks like he ultimately does finish 8th in Pro-Am, Putt and Cook, so there are some points associated with that. 17th overall, however. It could have been a whole lot more if the pit stop had been up to regulation. A classic BMW. Bouncing back, Stephen McAleer, Toby Grahovic winning in the overall order. Mackay Stevens and Colin Mullen, though, a great run to second in class and overall, and might have had a chance to challenge for the win had the yellow not come out at the end. And super excited for Ian James, Gray Newell, and the whole Heart of Racing team. There's a lot of faces on that team that you might recognize from the old Panos team that Ian was a part of. Kind of got the band back together a little bit with this program. And he's been telling us, Ian has, that Gray's got the speed, and he's starting to put it all together. And we saw that on full display this weekend across 2 championships. He's been great in both, and now the long-awaited win.
Well, it'd been so easy to make a mistake with his experience level in these race conditions, but he didn't. He didn't put a foot wrong, looked very poised, just run a good lap time, which we've seen on occasion so far this year. But this was the breakout weekend for him to put it together and get a podium run yesterday and go one better today from runner-up finish to the win.
I'd say for this race, at least, given what happened about an hour ago, not bad. Tom Capizzi to bounce back from his touring car crash and get on the class podium.
Yeah, that was an excellent run for that team. And they're another team that's really hitting their stride now with these GT4 cars. Auto Technique, I mean, great performances. Big win yesterday, a couple of runner-up finishes at Road America. Another podium here today.
That is the car. And Stephen McAleer piloted to the finish. Toby Grahovic, you see him leaning in to give the fist bump. He started this race. He runs this operation, but he's pretty good behind the wheel of a race car as well. And he's got himself quite the partner here in Stephen McAleer. As Alex Perry, crew chief, watching on, oversees this team while Toby's in the race car. And they have been fast at every opportunity to display it so far this year. Unfortunate that they had the issue with the technical infringement yesterday, cost them a class win, second overall, but bounced back in a big way to take not just the class win, but the overall win as well. Head sock comes off for Stephen McAleer. Toby Grahovic is standing by. Kyle should be in the picture here soon as well. And why don't we go ahead and see what Toby and Stephen have to say as they pick up the race win overall and in class in race 2.
Redemption for Classic BMW today in race 2 of Pirelli GT4 America for Toby Grahovic and Stephen McAleer. Toby, let's start with you. Starting in the car today, putting yourself in position to win this race. After what happened yesterday, this has got to feel fantastic.
Yeah, this is awesome. Had a pretty good start. Kept the car as close to the front as I could and handed it off to Stephen, and he did an amazing job getting the last few positions and bringing it home at first.
Stephen, as the caution flag came out with just a couple minutes left, it has to be running through your mind that there is a restart potential. What was running through your mind there with all those cars piled up behind you coming to the restart? You know, would that have been okay for you to hang out front, or you feel pretty confident?
Yeah, you know, I think so. You know, we had a good car today. The 35 car certainly was there. You know, we were having a good battle up front. Toby did an amazing job. I mean, he picked his way through some really good cars today. Some that I was a little worried about, you know, when we did the swap. So we had a good change, good driver stop, and you know, I got some clean laps to get moving, and right away we just started picking them off. So, you know, obviously a big difference from yesterday. So I'm super happy. And well done. Nice work, bud. Good job.
Classic BMW on top here in GT4, guys.
Classic performance for Classic BMW. We're used to seeing them in victory lane, such an established team.
They are, and when this driver pairing was announced back at Coda, it certainly raised everyone's eyebrows in the paddock. We haven't seen them every round of the championship, but when they show up, boy, are they a threat for a win.
Yeah, we've seen them make inroads in the points. yesterday hurt that for sure, but good race here today as we saw. Back down to victory lane and a first-time winner in Gray Newell, along with his veteran co-driver Ian James with Kyle.
That's right, Ryan. First win for the Heart of Racing team here in Pirelli GT4 America. Gray, let's start with you. A year ago, you were a race car driver. Now you're a race car driver and standing in victory lane. What does that feel like?
Yeah, well, I'm a little nervous because I've never done this before. So, this guy's just guiding me through everything, and it's been fantastic. So, we started P16 today, and just everything worked out, and we've had an amazing weekend. And I kind of can't believe that I'm standing here wearing another hat. It's pretty surreal. So,
fantastic. Ian, of course, nerves running through you there in the closing moments, but with the car out front having that penalty, you felt pretty confident that regardless of the restart, you were going to be in position to win this race. But was there a moment when you weren't sure if that was going to be the case?
Well, first of all, my young protege, Gray, here, I can't, his praises are not enough. I can't say enough words. I mean, where he's come in 1 year, I know his dad's really proud of him, and he makes this possible for everybody in the Heart of Racing. But I was pretty nervous at the back there. I definitely didn't want to go green there, although he had the pace. It's always things can happen. But, we executed this weekend, and we're just having so much fun. So that's what it's all about.
Fun for the Heart of Racing team in victory lane here at Watkins Glen.
Awesome stuff. Love seeing a first-time winner. And, yeah, you could tell Gray Newell just soaking it all up.
Special moment and special team. I mean, they're doing great things right now in the world of motorsport.
That's true in a couple of different series, and certainly here within SRO America. I think the first of many, most likely, for young Gray Newell, who is just getting better and better as the year goes along, and it's been that kind of season for Smooge Racing. It's a rare thing when they're not in victory lane. They're back once again. Their first weekend sweep, though, of the year. Kyle?
Both races going to the Smooge Racing Toyota Supra GR. John, let's start with you. Fantastic race for you guys, but take me through what was going through your mind. You've got a pack of cars behind you, a late race yellow. What was going through your mind?
My biggest goal was just to keep as far in front of John Allen, because we knew he was going to be the biggest threat, and that Chris Wilson would be on us at the end of the race. So just minimizing mistakes and, yeah, just trying to build the gap.
And Kevin, you starting in the car today, frantic start, very busy out there. And I think at the beginning of the race, everyone's goal is just to keep the car in one piece, but you did that and put yourself in position to win the race today. Your role very important. Take me through the start.
Yeah, so John did an amazing job on the start, actually, and he actually kept the car out of trouble and helped us build a gap. When I got in, it was all about trying to maintain our gap back to the 16 and work traffic as well as we could. And, man, what an amazing weekend to finally sweep one. We've won at every track this year, which has been a huge testament to Smooge Racing and Toyota and the Supra GT4 platform that's been spectacular all year. And to come here and finally win both means a lot to this whole team, and we were able to keep it clean, stay out of trouble, and have a little bit of luck go our way, but our pace was there all weekend. John did an amazing job, and just very thankful for everybody that makes this happen. Sebring Group, Cooper Natural Resources, Fuzi, and Toyota, and man, just absolutely beyond stoked.
So super sweep at Watkins Glen, Ryan.
Like the sound of that. Not as much as they do, I'm sure, but yeah, there she is, the Supra that brought them home to victory lane twice here this weekend. As we turn a look now to the highlights. This is how the race played out. Big start there. Spencer Pompelli on the pole led this massive field of GT4 cars to the green.
Yeah, it was tight there through turn one, and Greg Leofouche from the front row did not have a great opening lap and kind of falls down the order a little bit early.
That was a surprise for sure. Unfortunately, just the first bit of bad luck. This was the second. The hood comes up on Greg early in his stint. That car out of contention from there on. Contact here, Christian Shimshak, Warren Dexter coming side to side. That was just after the pit stop, so that would have been Ryan Dexter, actually. This was big contact here, though, between a couple of Astons.
Yeah, Paul Terry making an aggressive move there down to the inside, and a big moment here, just too many cars in the same place at the same time, and the outcome is two really badly damaged Porsches.
Unfortunately, it meant the race had to end under yellow, but the checkered flag flew first for Stephen McAleer and Toby Grahovic. Classic BMW gets it done. Just 4 more races left in the Pirelli GT4 America Championship, which heads next to Sebring.